Hypocrisy is one of my favorite things to examine, point out, laugh at, enjoy. And you never really have to dig too deep when it comes to a modern day company using H.P. Lovecraft's world and profiting from it. But their main marketing seems to always revolve around the exact same thing. It's, hey, we've got this product, but let's talk about how racist H.P. Lovecraft really was. To me, it's always been a really bizarre position to have, because if you were really that worried about his racism, why are you profiting from it? You would think if you would have some sort of any shred of self-respect, you would, take the time to create something new. Now, yes, of course, you can acknowledge something and still enjoy it. That's what most people do. But I think it's pretty hilarious how these companies' sole marketing tactics seem to be around calling out how terrible of a person H.P. Lovecraft is, and not necessarily talk about anything to do with their show. H.P. Lovecraft had some bad opinions about humans, to be extremely charitable. Now, in the end, rumor is he retracted some of those takes, although it's difficult to prove that. But I don't know who's expecting someone who was alive more than 100 years ago to live up to today's moral standards. It's the same logic that drives these clowns that want to tear down every statue because this person did something bad in the 1600s, 400 or 500 years ago. Yeah, they were responsible for some good, but they also did some things that we don't like in the year of our Lord 2020. So tear the statues down. It's absolutely an absurd way to exist. And all these woke companies, we had, what was it? The Evil Hat Productions game company back in the day, back in January, using H.P. Lovecraft's world to sell a game, but meanwhile, virtue signaling about how problematic he was. It's as if these people, it'd be like being on some sort of, it'd be like being on the board of directors for BLM, but also having an Etsy store that sells clan apparel. I don't understand where these people, if you really had principles, if you thought he was such a terrible human being, why are you using his product? Just shut up about it, all right? Look, I don't know if there's a person alive out there that isn't a moron that wouldn't be that would be surprised that someone who lived more than 100 years ago had some backwards opinions. People thought the earth was flat, for crying out loud. Are we supposed to, discredit everything somebody believed because science hadn't matched up yet with, with their belief system, because more people were religious and believed in Greek gods and things like that? Are we supposed to discredit them because now 500 years later, we know the earth is flat, and we know that there's no difference between somebody who has a different color skin than you, that we're all equal? Like, yeah, times change, but it seems like the new show, Lovecraft Country, which is on HBO. I recommend, if you're out on the deep seas, to take a look for some VODs, because the show may be okay. I just played the Call of Karen, which is a Cthulhu-based game. I actually thought the Nick Cage, people didn't really agree with me, but I liked, what was it called? The Color of Night or something like that. I thought it was really good. Maybe just because I'm a Nick Cage fanboy, but all these articles came out yesterday. It was trending on Twitter. Gods, Monsters, and H.P. Lovecraft's Uncanny Legacy. All these, by the way, are marketing puff pieces by places like the New York Times, which solely are supposed to pump up the show. And you have this article, H.P. Lovecraft was a virulent racist. How Lovecraft Country confronts it. So we're using his racism for profit to drive traffic to our website, to get your attention as clickbait. And then we're going to talk about a television show that we want you to pay $15 a month to watch. That's their marketing funnel. The New York Times did the exact same thing. They talk, and it's all here. Lovecraft Country, the very first sentence, premiering August 16th. All of these shows, all these articles, by the way, and Twitter's full of it. People that are literally standing on and profiting from his racism to promote a television show. These people are pathetic. The fact that they're totally and solely unaware of the hypocrisy drives me insane. It is absolutely okay to understand that 120 years ago, a guy had some crummy opinions. I mean, look up what he named his cat, all right? Not a great human being by today's standards. But I would guess that the average Joe or Jane who was around 140 years ago probably wasn't a great human being by today's standards either. It's just the woke media continues to profit from his racism. I mean, are they not running ads on this page? No. Is the HBO show free? No. So is this all you have to tell me? This is the story you have to tell me. This is how you're going to get me to pay $14 a month for HBO, or how much, I don't know how much it is. $10 a month, whatever it is too much. But you're going to stand on his, just shut up already. Shut up about H.P. Lovecraft being problematic. All right. Nobody is surprised that a guy who was alive 120 years ago had some backwards opinions. Just let people enjoy things. And by the way, you look pretty sad that you're using it as part of your marketing ploy. It's everybody's marketing. Here you had Evil Hat. When they didn't have enough buzz going around their game. Now, they did have a very successful Kickstarter, but then they made sure to pander to Twitter by saying, while developing The Fate of Cthulhu, we were obligated to reflect on the problematic roots of the source material. We tackle this on page 6. The mythos is definitely worth exploring, also worth re-examining. Yes, stunning and brave. Everybody knows that H.P. Lovecraft had some backwards opinions 120 years ago. But this is exactly what? Doing what? You're still profiting from it. You see this. Lovecraft was racist, so we must treat him and his work as it's the devil, but at the same time, we're creatively bankrupt, love money, and he's really influential. Wait, I know. We'll just call him a big meanie pants and shill some hacks, then we can steal his stuff, no problem. That's exactly how I view it. Now, I'm not saying that I'm right, but that's just my opinion. These people that stand on H.P. Lovecraft's worst characteristics to market their products are profiting from racism. They are just as pathetic as the people they claim to be better than. You have these entire articles talking about the high-profile series is based on the novel by Matt Ruff and boasts of big-name executive producers Jordan Peele and J.J. Abrams, and has brought a renewed attention to the legacy of H.P. Lovecraft. Why? Because that's what you're talking about. Because nobody would care about some random, just another HBO show if you didn't talk about how H.P. Lovecraft was racist. So he's so important, his worst feature is your best marketing tactic. That's not exactly a great look for the show. Genres of writers in the 20th century, as well as virulent racist, white supremacist, and anti-Semite, whose dread-soaked writing is animated by fear of the other. His influence in horror fan culture is huge, said showrunner Misha Green in recent Q&A, and you can definitely tell he was a racist from his work. It's hard to miss those troubling themes. Well, okay, create your own then. I just don't understand it. I get it. Like, look, if you're an actor and actress on the show and some journalist asks you about it, I get having to answer it. But it sure seems like this show, more than any others, is like purely relying on race baiting to get people to be interested in it. I'm not interested in anything Jordan Peele's putting out there because he's told me he's not interested in me. But we all know that H.P. Lovecraft and his cosmic horror genre is game-changing. This show, Lovecraft Country, interested me about as any other random Lovecraftian genre television show. But when you bring in Jordan Peele and you put it on HBO, I don't think that I'll be that interested in it. And when you feel totally comfortable profiting from it, then pardon me if I'm questioning just how upset you are by it. If you're willing to take that work and profit from it. It's just such a weird thing. And you have this article. Should Lovecraft be canceled? Sorry, New York Times. He's dead. Part of what makes Lovecraft so effective is the overwhelming sense of terror and isolation he creates. By the way, none of that has to do with his opinions about brown people. Emotions that broadly relatable, if even in his case, they were often animated by his fear of other races. Again, nobody knows that who's watching these TV shows. He's speaking to the universe scenes, but he's also very specific pathologies of his own. Says Ruff, who is white, and that's what makes him still resonate, even though his personal worldview was really loathsome. He cites the Shadow of Innsmouth as an example. It's a very specific story about a white man threatened by this mixed race horde, but it's also one of the most effective tales of attempted lynching I've ever read. Lovecraft captures the fear brilliantly. I can learn from and do interesting things with that. Okay, great. I mean, that's fine. I don't understand this idea. But Jesmond doesn't think Lovecraft or his canon should be canceled. Well, yeah, because how are you going to profit from it then? Instead, she has argued that readers should acknowledge the potential harm of his writing. Who's his writing harming in 2020? Serious question. You have to recognize that these are people, and that the things that make them sometimes horrible people sometimes make them good writers and good artists. That's a good, I'd agree with that 100%. And that's what you want to engage with. Yes, you can separate the person from the art from the artist, but that's not what these shows and the newspapers want to do. They want to specifically focus on Lovecraft's worst features while profiting from his work and paying him nothing for it. They're just as pathetic as those that they seek to admonish and who they see themselves as better than. If you want to make something H.P. Lovecraft themed, try to make it survive on its own merit instead of propping up and running out H.P. Lovecraft's worst characteristics to get eyeballs. It's lazy. I hope you enjoyed this video, though. We'll talk to you again real soon.